Hello and welcome to What Sticks with Sid. It has been quite a long time since I've been on here, and so much has changed, including my hair color. I was blonde in the previous videos. I think I made it to 4 recordings, and then the 5th one I had recorded, but I was having all these upload issues, and then I ran into so many issues, and then I'm like, oh, I need to just re-record, and I just never got around to it. But it would be so interesting for me to watch those back now. It actually cringes me to think of, or it makes me cringe to think of some of the things I know I said on there or how I said it, just because I think I've had so much weight lifted off of me, honestly, just the last couple of months. The year progressively, yes, but like the last couple of months has been, I've just had so much momentum, I feel like, lifted. And that is kind of bringing me to my first topic. So I'm gonna try a new way of recording, and it's gonna be with sticky notes. That's kind of what the inspiration behind What Sticks with Sid, where it came from, is I always have these bright neon sticky notes everywhere. And I'm gonna just write down things that stand out to me, like, and kind of go through like updates first of like, this is what the latest that's going on with me is, and then kind of move to like lately and some like kind of deeper thoughts, like collectively, maybe of what I'm thinking is going on, and what I'm seeing, like, and sharing with friends and things like that. So my first one, it just kind of brings me into this. It's a 2026 energy, and I don't know if this is backwards or not based off how I'm filming this, so I guess we'll see. But the energy of 2026, I feel like I just get this high off of New Year energy. And so many things that I've been listening to about this new year, not just in this for this year, like 2026, but just about New Year, the time of New Year, I guess, or the New Year shift. There's something just so powerful, like across the world about it, and different cultures and different places, they talk about it similarly, and how it's like the welcoming and like the shifting and the shedding and all these things. But there's something about this year for me that just like, I feel like I'm clicking. Things I've been thinking about and processing for the last few years now are like clicking in to different cylinders, and I just feel like I'm like, whoa, I get it. I'm saying the same things. I'm having very similar ahas when it comes to like how I'm expressing them, or like the words are similar, but it's like the understanding and the feeling behind it is deeper this go around. And I do believe like the week before the new year and the week after, I mean, I'm recording this on January 7th, and I just feel like it's, the peak has kind of hit, but I still feel it stirring around. Like, I just feel like there's this like renewal energy of like anything's possible. And that's kind of what leads me to like why I'm recording is I went to a New Year meditation last night for this woman that I met, honestly, probably within the weeks that I recorded my last podcast episodes, and now it's like so much is coming full circle. But I was in like a very curious place then, and I was honestly just like trying to seek out others that were in a similar space. And I found this woman that has this basement shop in Sandy, Utah, and like you would never even see from the road. It's on kind of a busier road, 13th East, if you guys are familiar with that. And it's like not something you would actually see unless you are aware of it and you're specifically looking for it. She can't even be found on Google. Like, really, you have to know exactly what you're looking for. And I was sitting in my car one day, and I just was like, I'm just curious of like metaphysical shops in the area. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't know if I even mentioned this. I might have even mentioned this on a previous podcast recording. So this might, again, yeah, just be like full circle. So anyways, I stumbled into this condo complex with multiple units. I see that her unit, it's called Indigo Roots, is in a basement. And I'm like, this is so interesting. Like the whole setup, like how you, like, again, like I wouldn't have seen her signage or anything, like nothing's really that obvious. And then I go down there and she has a sign on there like that you need to schedule to come in, and like that she's not just like open all hours. Like I was just expecting like, oh, like a metaphysical shop, like crystals, maybe, like she, like that's what I'm familiar with, right? But I was exploring the word metaphysical, and like I'm like, how do I find people and places that are in this arena? Spirituality doesn't really fit. I feel like we don't have vocabulary for what a lot of people are going through, and like I've heard an awakening, spirituality, like, but it's very separate from religion. I know I did talk about that on a previous episode. And anyways, I was just like, I need more of this. I want more knowledge. I want to meet real people that are going through this, that like live near me. So anyways, that's how I found her. And then come Christmas, she always does like a huge pop-up sale. Like she doesn't have a lot in store, but she does like big pop-up, I believe, like at an event, like where she has a booth or something, and then she takes it back to her office where she usually just like works with people and does like healing sessions one-on-one, different things in these offices that she has. But anyways, I'm going and I'm shopping for Christmas, and she shares with me that she is doing a new year meditation where she pulls from different oracle decks, and each individual pulls from several decks, and then she tells you how to lean in and listen to the cards that you pulled and what it means for your upcoming year. It's like a fun way of being like, what's in store for this year for you. And I heard it and I instantly just got this feeling of like, I'm going to that. I haven't attended anything like this in a really long time. I was feeling like a really big pushback to lean into this part of me and like exploration. If you guys remember, if you've listened to previous podcasts, I have 3 daughters, and they're all, my oldest is 6 now, so I have 6, 4, and almost 2. It's kind of around the corner. She's 1.5, and it's so hard because I feel like exploring this stuff, a lot of people host things in evenings or they host them on the weekend, and it always makes me feel like I have to trade family time for this exploration, which I will get into this, but it even further later on. This is like another one of my topics, but it makes me feel like selfish. Like, how dare I go and explore and be like this individual when I have this family, right? And so that's always bothered me, and probably why I took such a long break from exploring those things, because I went so heavy at the beginning of, oh gosh, I need to like find out what month and year it was, because I know it's been a couple years now. It was, oh my gosh, it was January. It was end of December. Hold on. I actually do think I know a date. It was in January, when I first had my first experience into, honestly, just like my internal voice, thinking about what I really want out of the world, not just going with what I think needs to be done or how I need to behave. And all of a sudden, I was just like this veil lifted of like, holy crap, I can think for myself. Like, I have inner desires and inner thoughts. Anyways, I'm getting a little sidetracked because where was I? Yeah, so it's been a minute since I've done something like that. So she mentions it to me, but I feel like the reason I got that pop of like, boom, yes, is because I've been getting really into reading oracle cards for myself and others. And in the past, I've always been really drawn to them, first of all. Like, ever since I went into my very first metaphysical shop, if you will. Gosh, I don't even remember what it was called, but I was basically led there, which was so cool. Like, divinely, like someone was doing like a pop-up trailer for like elixirs that I really, really wanted to try, and she was in their parking lot. So I went in there, and I remember walking in the store and just perusing, and I'd never really seen oracle decks. Like, my only understanding was tarot at this point, when it came to decks and readings and things like from the movies, like what do you call it, fortune teller type stuff, right? And tarot to me equaled evil. So I walk up and I see all these decks standing up, and I saw one, and I had this moment of like, like I'm really drawn to that, like I want that, and I don't even know what it is or why. And so I asked the ladies, there were two sisters. Ooh, I think it was Sisters Hollow, if you've ever heard of that. They're maybe like West Jordan or something like that. They're on like the west side of I-15. Anyways, it's a really small shop. Again, something if you are going on the busy road that they're off of, you would just pass by. Sisters Hollow, and it is literally two sisters that run it, and they are very witchy vibe. And yeah, they had some cool stuff in there, but I asked them some questions. I got a few things, and then I just like, I feel like intuitively just played around with it. And if you are familiar with Oracle decks, or if you are not familiar with Oracle decks, I guess I should say, they come with like a pamphlet and they come with a deck of cards. And the pamphlet gives you like an introduction to this specific deck and why the author and sometimes the illustrator work together, and like where the idea came from, or how they were led to create this deck. And like some people like illustrate their own, and they're like, I connect and I just paint what comes to me, or I think of a word and it just like comes to me in the middle of the night. Like there's some interesting stories. And over time I've collected several of these decks. So at this point, like in time, like right now, I have read several deck pamphlets, and they all have different stories. They all have different ways of connecting with the cards, of clearing energy from the cards. But essentially, like, let's start, if you've never heard of Oracle cards, I guess I'll give a little bit of like a basic overview. Is essentially you attune them to your energy. If you are pulling for yourself, or if you're pulling for someone else, you can attune them to their energy. And what I mean by that is you grab the cards. Some people like to like look through them, like the side where it's what you will be looking at and pulling, not like the back of the deck. And what I always do is I like hold it to my chest, and I like fill my body with love, and I picture like almost like a meter, like filling and being like ding ding ding, like you've achieved like fulfilling the cards and attuning them with you. I just get this like feeling. And I kind of do that with my eyes closed, and I just like kind of hold them there. I have since also learned like you can literally knock energy out of it, just to kind of like give it a fresh restart, because sometimes other people pull from your decks. Sometimes like I loan mine out sometimes. So like that's just become a part of my ritual for pulling cards, is like I knock on either side, and then you ask it a question. And it's not supposed to be a yes or no question. It's supposed to be an open-ended question. Like the most basic form is that a lot of decks recommend if you're doing like a one card pull is, what do I need to know today? And our bodies are just so hyper intelligent. I mean, I have studied and taken classes on like muscle testing and crystals, and like how frequencies interact with each other, and how our body is just like so powerful. Like I've heard so much about like this book, one of my girlfriends, it's her favorite, but it's called The Body Keeps a Score. I feel like I've read it, I haven't, but she references it all the time, that like our bodies, like when they're depleted or like deficient in something, like we can tell and we crave certain things for a reason. Or maybe we have an adversary, what word am I looking for? Where you don't want something. I don't know what word I'm looking for because it's not coming out right, but when you don't want something, there's usually a reason for that. And like when you can like tune into your body and like listen to what your body needs, not like your mind, like food works that way with us, right? And like that's kind of where muscle testing comes from. It's like you can get a yes or a no by testing things. I haven't really practiced, however, I was like attended like a training on it, and it was honestly so cool. Not what I had expected. Just like I feel like deepen my knowledge and my experiences of just like, holy shit, we are so powerful, right? But I think the same way about card decks. Like I believe our bodies know what we need to hear, and like they're actually attracted or drawn and to like what we need. And so this is where I would give an explanation on like the clairs is how I first heard of them. Someone was like, do you know what the clairs are? And I'm like, no idea. Like, what could you possibly be referencing? Like, clair what? And the most common one is clairvoyance. and that's the gift of sight. But there's 5 really common ones, and I believe there's a few others that people, once they kind of practice these more difficult clairs, or like, I mean, they're more rare maybe, come in. But there's like sight, there's sight and seeing, knowing, feeling, hearing, and it will come to me. But then you can also get like taste and smell. I'm sure there's more, because honestly, I don't put it beyond us as humans. I feel like we have so many more senses than we're told. And the more you lean into them, more you work them out, they're like a muscle, and they develop, they get stronger. And then if you have, usually people have 1 or 2 that are more strong than others. And if you play around with them, the others come in easier. So I also apply those to cards too, because when I am talking about drawing cards, like my sister, for instance, this is something we do often together, but she will lay out the deck and spread it, and she'll just see a card and say, that's the one I want. Like, so her sight comes in, but also her knowing like just pops in of like, boom, there it is. I'm more feeling, where like the first time I ever learned, it was to scan the cards, and then you get like a prick in a finger, or like a warmth in a finger, and it's super subtle. You have to like be super intentional about, that's what I'm looking for to feel. Or it could be like a little buzzing. Like it's really interesting, but the people that have like walked through it, that's always the way I introduce them, because that's how I was introduced. And I haven't had anyone that isn't able to do it. Like, oh, I can't do this. And sometimes you have to scan them a couple times. So I'm talking, you like lay out the cards and you lay them flat. But anyways, and then it's like, boom, that's my card. And you like pull it out. Now I shuffle mine, and then all of a sudden I just get this feeling to stop. So I love how I just went so in depth of card pulling, but I was bringing it up because I'm just fucking fascinated with it lately. And the more I do it, the more in tune I feel like I am, even with my decks and with the cards themselves. And I'm starting to like pull cards at different times and get something new. And that's kind of like what a lot of people like would say is like, well, don't you just hear what you want to hear? And it's like, yes and no, because your body, again, I believe you are drawn to something, and there's like no wrong answer, right? So people are like, oh, what if I don't pick the right one? It's that trust of just like, this one stood out to me first, I'm going with it, instead of like, oh, maybe that's not it. Oh, I'm gonna shuffle, maybe I should stop, maybe I shouldn't. Like, to just like quiet the thoughts again and like lean into your body. And I think it's helped me connect with listening to myself and like my body more, and like my desires, my like from the heart, not the head. Like, and so it's just been something I really, right from the get-go, have been drawn to. But also I had a lot of like filters around this, where, and when I say that, I mean, when I, like, me and my sister would go to Starbucks or like a coffee shop, and we would want to pull cards for each other, or like pull for ourselves with each other. And it was just something like we kind of did together and would get a lot out of. It was like my safe space to feel like I could explore this, because it felt very woo-woo, it felt very out there. And I just like remember that feeling of like when we'd be shuffling and stuff, like looking around and being like, who thinks we're crazy right now? And it does, it feels weird, it feels abnormal, it feels crazy, it feels all the things. And so, yeah, like leaning into that, when I heard that this lady that I had met that owned this metaphysical shop was doing a New Year's reading, and it was with multiple card decks, that's why I got that pop, is because I was just like, this has been something I've been genuinely interested and fascinated by, but I've also been really leaning into, and in like a beautiful way, not like I'm gonna be like really adamant about pulling cards every single day. Like, it wasn't a masculine thing of like having to do something. It just like naturally started happening. And then I would see people at lunch and I'd be like, oh, I have a card deck. Like, of course, since I'm talking about my life and this is something that's happening in my life, we were talking about card decks, and do you want me to pull a card for you? And then my friends have been fascinated because they're like, how? Because the cards are so beautiful, and like I feel like when I'm tapped into my friends, and I know things about their life and stuff, I just from pulling a card and looking at the face of it, I translate and get so much. And it like my word I like to say when I get things that just like I feel like they come in from here, right? It's like a download. Like I get these downloads for these people without even reading in the pamphlet what the card means. And the different decks have different things. So they'll say like, based off the theme or whatever, it will usually have a couple different sections. It will have like section 1 is the meaning, and then section 2 will be like how to apply this, or like your ancestors want you to know from this, like kind of a thing. And yeah, so I was really drawn to this New Year's reading, and the theme from this New Year's reading was insane. I mean, the fact that we pulled from 11 different card decks, okay? So she literally had 11 different card decks, and she told us the order of what we would be pulling for, and we passed them around and all of this, right? And I did it with my mom and sister. So the fact that all 3 of us had renowned themes across what the cards were saying our year was going to look like my specific cards wouldn't have made sense with my sisters or wouldn't have made sense with my mom's, but they even like the imagery was similar, like so beautiful, so cool, so fascinating. But I feel like that's when my cylinders locked in, and they locked in on like they clicked in like a different layer from last night. And that's why I'm recording today, is because I have gotten these little pings here and there of like wanting to record again. And my main purpose for recording these and my craving like of where this podcast came from is that I really just want to have real conversations with people and like have that create connection, and not just connection with others or with me or whatever, it's with themselves, because that's been my journey and that's what leads me to my card pull, which was so cool. But like my like word I would say for all of it was opening and like speaking my truth, which I have heard a million times. I feel like it's so overused. I'm like, yeah, speaking my truth. But as I'm reading these cards, oof, which I'm gonna tie this in and I'm gonna go to my next sticky note because I'm gonna get more into the card reading. But it was so cool because this was my theme. Oh my gosh, you can't even see it. For the year that I had before I went there. And this says body love and self-love. And I have months before the new year, I have been slowly integrating things in my life that have shown up so naturally in like a true curious form, not me in my past are like when I would set goals or say I wanted to commit to something or do something for myself, it would be in such a masculine way of like, I'm doing it every day, I'm committing 0 to 100, like, or nothing, like, or it's not real, or it's not good enough, right? And so I've slowly integrated things like the card pulling has been something for me that gives me something. Whereas I used to be so worried about judgment, like external judgment of like, what are people gonna think? Or like, this is weird, like this is woo woo. But I have so much evidence now and experiences because I kept leaning into it. And I would do it every so often. Like I'm talking like months and months apart. It wasn't like really a consistent thing unless you looked at like a longer span of time. Like in a short run, it didn't look like I was being consistent. But when I look back at the last couple years, I mean, I think I have 6 card decks now. Like, so I've accumulated more, I've played around with more, I've learned because I've read up on like the pamphlets. And then I pulled from them for myself and others, right? And so, I mean, that's one thing. And then I've been doing intermittent fasting, which I listened to one podcast that just like hit me on a different level. I've heard of fasting my whole life. My parents have always really fasted, even my mother-in-law. Like they've always done intermittent fasting, but like intuitively, they've never like sought out to do it really. I mean, I think they've researched it and then they make tweaks and like, oh, this is better, but like they all have kind of eaten that way, and I've never really been that way. I feel like had the belief that like we have to have breakfast, and like if you don't have breakfast, your day's starting off in a horrible way. Like if you're not eating, like your body is depleting its muscle, not its fat, all these things. So I listened to this podcast. It was on like the Diary of a CEO, Steve Bartlett. I love him right now. And he had this doctor on that like all he like specializes in is fasting, and he just like blew my mind with my misconceptions about fasting. And he started to talk about visceral fat, which is like the gut fat and like the fat that's like in your intestines. It's like the fat that people can't get rid of when they're working out and all these things. And he's like, if people just knew, if they did like this, like the 6-18 window, that they could just, it targets, and I think it's 6-18. I'm pretty positive. My brain is not computing if that's it or not. But anyways, whatever window it is, I believe it's a 6-18. Hold, computing. Yes, okay, that's it, confirmed. Okay, 6-18. If they just do that, then it targets the visceral fat, not just fat and muscle. And he's like, I've seen people who are enormously overweight and they've lost hundreds of pounds. And when you target the visceral fat versus the fat, or the other fat, I don't know what it's called, it actually tightens your skin and you don't get loose skin. And so he's like, if I put people on a regimen of just doing this and this fasting schedule, and he's like, our bodies are so incredible, like you wouldn't even believe what we're capable of, and like what we can withstand, like how long we can fast, things like that, if we're just having water and stuff. And so I just started doing it, and I again got that pop of, ooh, like this is hitting on a different level and I want to pursue this and try it. And I was like, I'm just gonna try and do this for 30 days. And it came in at a perfect timing too, because I'd just gone on a trip, just felt so overweight. I mean, I'm almost 2 years postpartum right now, but I feel like I've been treating myself like I'm still newly postpartum, like, oh, I'm not ready to work out, I'm not ready to pay attention to my eating or my health or any of that. Like it's like I still feel like I'm carrying baby weight, like the baby weight and all that. And I don't know, it just popped. I'm like, I'm gonna try it. And things changed so much. I like dropped a pant size. All my shirts that haven't fit me like since before or after my first pregnancy, so like 6 years ago, were starting to fit me again. Like I just got like obviously this renewed energy too, because I was just like, hell yeah, like you know how you feel when you look in your closet and you are looking at it and you know how much doesn't fit or that you won't feel comfortable in. So yeah, that's like why and like what has led me to wanting that to be my theme. It's because I do want to be more intentional about it. I think there's so much power behind intention. I mean, the cards have also taught me that lesson. And so yeah, that's kind of my theme, and I come up with my themes after I go over what I'm wanting to accomplish. And I've always had real issues with New Year's goals or resolutions, because I feel like it like sets us up to fail, or we like all of a sudden it's December and it's like, oh my God, like I didn't do any of these things, let me fit it in a month. Like at least that's been my experience, because my husband's family, we get together every single year and we do 4 or 5 New Year's resolutions, and then we go over them as a family. And it always has like felt really daunting to me, because again, I had all this filters is kind of my keyword, and that's going to come up later, and so I'm hesitating to use that word again, but because I'm going to get into it. But I had all these filters of like, what is a good goal? What is something that's like a SMART goal, like the specific and like all that, like attainable, all these things that I learned in business school. And what's like a silly goal to have that like people would laugh at? Like I had all these things, and so I'm like, okay, what can I say that like will make me feel okay about all those things and not feel like shit essentially when the new year comes and I didn't do any of it? Or what are things I can realistically do? And anyways, and so there's like a lot of like self shaming and guilt going on with that, and it would give me like a lot of anxiety, not knowing, because I'm realizing I have a lot of anxiety, or I've had a lot of anxiety in my life, but I always pictured anxiety to be a certain way, and now I'm realizing my anxiety is internal. Like people don't physically see that I have anxiety, it's my inner voice. And I know I got into that in my last episodes too, if you want to listen to that. And so that actually perfectly leads me to my last sticky note of like the latest of what's going on. And I wrote down happy when I'm having conversations with others. And that was like my big aha that kind of came away from that New Year's card pulling that we did last night. Is I was just like, I expressed how I have all I see in myself is negative. Like all I see is what I'm not doing right. And my mom looked at me. This is like her one response after a bunch of things I said. I said like my feedback of my poll and everything. And she goes, that's so sad. And I just sat there. I'm like, well, yeah, like that's sad. But like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, it's sad to me because I would never guess that for you. Like you're always so happy. You're always achieving new things and working towards new things. And like, you always are like you're always talking and you're always like happy about stuff. And I'm really glad she shared that because it made me go, huh, because that is true. I love connecting with people. I have quite a few one-off relationships that I deeply connect with that I have had for years and years, and I have a lot of loyal friendships that are like that, and we get like this deep connection that we don't really get elsewhere. And they're all so different, and I love them all, and I really make it a point to reach out and make sure we're seeing each other. I mean, it's like once or twice a year sometimes, but it's like those friendships that you see each other and it's like you don't have any animosity for not seeing each other, and we understand we're busy, but we're grateful to be with each other, right? I have so many friends like that. I'm so grateful for that, and my family's like that, my immediate family, and my mother-in-law. She's my best friend, by the way. She's awesome. Shout out Lisa. But anyways, I had this crazy aha after my mom made that commentary, and I go home and I'm telling my husband Mitch about all my cards and all these things, and I was just like, holy shit, I am happy when I'm with everyone else, but when I'm with myself, I don't think I say one positive thing ever. And even when I do, it's out of that place again of like the be grateful, like it's like martyrdom, like it's not true real gratitude or thankfulness like coming from like looking at me and really loving me. It's actually like me wailing on myself with that beat up stick. And yeah, I kind of shared a little bit more on that, not that takeaway in the session, but I shared a little bit more about like my inner dialogue, and it's like, oh, that's interesting you say that, because like I'm so hard on myself, and but not in a way people would think, I guess. And so I gave a little bit more explanation, and my sister and mom were just like looking at me kind of like flabbergasted, like kind of speechless. I guess I shocked them because obviously we share a lot, and I feel like we're way more open than most families I know, and but we really care about like each other and like who we are and what we're wanting out of life, like our aspirations, our desires, like our magic. And so like I don't know if I've ever really shared the way I did. I guess it must have been the context. And so yeah, that was like my big, like if I were to put it really shortly, like I got out of that was like, holy crap, I'm even more mean to myself than I think. And this is what I'm going to shift it to. This is what's been going on lately. And these are a lot of takeaways though that came from last night and why I was like on this high and wanted to record is because I was just like, I love talking about this stuff. And like those friendships I talk about, I could reach out to every single one of them and like personally have these conversations. Like I love it. I revel in it. I get so deep, and I love the connection it brings. And I feel like we always leave and we're always just like, we have like this sense of peace of like, okay, my cup's filled. Like this was awesome. This was great. And it's reciprocated. And I feel like vulnerability is reciprocated. And yeah, just being real. And my favorite podcasts are the ones of people just like yapping. Like I just love when people just talk about their life and like the real and rawness of it. And like when they make mistakes, they just like own up to it. And I think that was actually played a big part though in why I did this today too, is because I've had a couple expanders of podcasters in my life recently that both simultaneously and beautifully, and I think they know each other too, so it was cool, but they're both local. One I went to high school with, and I've watched her grow, and she's just kick-ass. Her name is Josie Van Dyke, and she's Weekly Trash podcast. And I first saw her brand and stuff, and like it was pop culture heavy, which I'm not usually into pop culture, but the more I watched her stuff, I kind of would watch it every once in a while. I just like really loved how just she's a real human and she doesn't have filters. And then the Bad Broadcast, Maddie Murphy West, it's hyphenated now, but she's awesome. I've listened to her from the very beginning of her podcast, and I love them both. I think they've been on each other's podcasts. Well, Maddie, Bad Broadcast, has been on Weekly Trash a couple times, and I just love so what they both shared is they both shared like they were reflecting on the new year and like where they started and where they are now. And I couldn't believe how long both of them had been podcasting, because I feel like I just found them and have been listening or whatever. And but it was so good for me to hear like them talk about, one of them said like, do you know, like when I first recorded, I used to write down every single word like verbatim, like a script when I was recording. And that's Bad Broadcast. I was like, what? Because I remember listening to her and being like, damn, like I wish I could just talk like her and like have it perfectly flow and make sense and like have good transitions, and then boom, an hour's up. Well, that was today. And then on the other side, Josie with Weekly Trash, she said that she used to just wing it and upload it, and like upload it raw without any editing, which is what I was doing when I was recording. And before, like my last 4 episodes that were about a year ago now, and I was just like, boom, send. Like I'm not editing, I'm not doing anything, like I'm just uploading to do the thing and have progress moving forward, right? And it was so cool though, because it came in of just how much, and I'm gonna just like go to this. This is a good spot to bring this in. Internal filters come in, because when I first was doing the podcast, like I had so much on my mind of what I was doing and how, right? Like, I mean, obviously we all do, but in the sense of there was just all this inner dialogue of, I can't put this out 100% the way I want it to, because it has to be relatable. It has to be, I know a lot about branding and marketing, and I want to apply all those things. Like I have to do it this way because this person recommended this and blah, blah, blah. Like, so it wasn't like me. And so like with my theme of like speaking my truth and like, what do I really want? And like all my negative talk when I'm with myself, all of a sudden podcast kept popping in right at the end of this year. And then it popped in again last night because I was like, holy shit, just fucking do the podcast the way you want to do it. And I was doing that before, but when I was talking, what I was talking about, that's where the filters would come out, because I don't know if anyone else is like this. I was telling my mom this morning and she was looking at me like, yeah, I can relate, but not to that extent. When I am talking with someone, usually I like have this new refresh right now, but usually how I'm feeling is, as I am thinking of what I'm going to say to this person, I am having a simultaneous conversation in my head of what I can and cannot say. Oh, don't mention that, or don't phrase it that way because this person had this experience in their life and that might trigger them. So, and you don't want to like bring that up. So like, don't say it that way, but like, holy shit, just all the time. And I was doing that with the podcast. I was like, as I was sharing things, I was sharing them not for like my experience about them. I was sharing them and I was trying to like, the filters that were happening were like, did I say it right? Should I quote the person or not? Is that weird? Should I not give names? Like, is that bad? And then the other filter that came in a lot was like, I have to say exactly what happened and I have to say exactly what it was. And now I'm just like, no, I want to share my takeaways from it, how they really feel for me, not with like how I should apply it to my life. Honestly, I don't know if this is making sense or not because it's so much deeper than even that. As I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, how can I actually articulate this to the depth that this happens to me? So that is like, honestly, if you think that's a lot or you can relate, that's like scratching the surface. And so like, that's what I'm saying, internal filters. I was just realizing like, holy shit, when I even like want to have a conversation with my husband, I literally play in my head of like, oh, he's not going to listen. He just wants bullet points. Like, stop going into so much detail. You've been talking a long time. Like, right? But that's what he loves about me. He loves my excitement. He loves my enthusiasm. He loves my passion towards things. And like, he would tell you that like the thing he loves about me the most is the thing he hates about me the most as well, is how much I care about others. And so that brings in this next one. I don't know if you could hear that snap, but that was kind of loud. I had this other thought last night of this paradox we live in, of that we have to put others first or we're being selfish. But if we don't put ourselves first, we literally can't be the version of ourselves that they're deserving of, or we can't show up with as much energy or that enthusiasm or whatever it is, whatever your magic is, right? And when it is related to what I'm going through right now, I was just like, holy shit, every time I make a decision or anytime I have a thought or like want to have a conversation, those filters pop up, right? And I make my decisions based off what I should be doing, what everyone else around me wants to hear or see or do. And I mean, I would say I put a lot of thought into things like above the average person, because that's kind of where my knack is like I am a deeply, like I love thinking of others, and that's what my husband loves the most about me, but he hates it the most because it takes away from our internal family, right? And so then I was sharing with him last night, I'm like, holy shit, we've talked so much about this over break. We had so many conversations about like, he's like, I love the things you do for Christmas and I love the little things that you do and you make everyone feel special. And he's like, but I don't like it when it takes away from our like internal immediate family time. And I was like, it like kind of hit me because I was like, oof, like that is true. But then with this new layer of that paradox, right, of giving to others first, or you're selfish, I was like, Mitch, like I think I'm so filtered and concerned about how I'm giving to everyone. That's why it takes from our immediate family instead of just doing what I want to do. Because like for Christmas, like I wanted to do these cute little Polaroids because I found like an extra stack of like clear magnetic, magnet clear acrylic picture holders for like the fridge. And I had a stack. I got them last Christmas for someone, accidentally ordered 2, thought I'd keep it, totally found it right around Christmas time again. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna take Polaroids of the cousins and the family and I'm gonna put them on top of their pictures. Well, I'm hell-bent on this project, right? And I'm like, well, when is it gonna get done? Like it has to get done. And we're on break, we're home. So like, it needs to happen. And Mitch is like, well, can you not do it while we're doing stuff with the family, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, but like, when am I gonna do it? Like, our bedtime routine, I always tell myself like, oh, when the kids go to bed. That is not our household right now, okay? We are not in that phase. Our kids are alternating up every half hour, it seems like. And if we have like a quiet period, me and Mitch, I feel like don't even know what to do with ourselves because we're like, no one's crying. And then my ears are always like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And so anyways, I just have this, we're having this conversation multiple times over the break, and he's honestly the best partner ever because he never says it to shame or guilt me. He never makes me feel badly about this. We just have honest conversations, and I love that about him because or else resentment builds up, right? Whereas I have had self-resentment when it comes to this kind of stuff because I'm realizing I'm trying to do all this stuff and whatever, but it's like what I was doing to myself was I knew he didn't want me to do it. I knew it was like another thing Sydney's doing. And I had that filter and that guilt of like, don't do the thing. Like that was holding me back rather than just fucking doing the thing, right? And just doing it and getting it done, which I'm really good at, just executing when I have ideas and like just running with something. But when I feel like it has to be bypassed and have approval by 10 people, it gets dragged out, right? And yeah, I feel like this is kind of bringing me, this is the last sticky note that I have here. And a lot of stuff comes to me in form of song. We're gonna have to get into it in later episodes, but I really just want to share everything, and I want to remove the filters. I want to remove the like people who think I'm crazy, because really what I want to build here is I just want people to feel like they're not alone, and I want people to have connection, but not just connection like with themselves, like because that's where it starts, and we can't have true connection with other people, and we really can't give to them, right? Unless we are connected and we feel secure and safe and all the things with ourselves. It starts there. And I mean, the last couple of years, this has been coming in layers and layers and layers, and I think I've achieved better in this area, or achieved higher, I don't know how to phrase that, but and then it's like, nope, you don't really know. Like, oh, you have more information, but like you aren't ready yet, like the timing of it all. And so that's what I believe just kind of clicked in. But anyways, one thing I do want to share eventually on here is about, I've been having mediumship experiences where I have had spirit come and bombard me. That's how it started, to where I like couldn't ignore it. I've had stuff like that happen my whole life, but I have really leaned into it this last year. I would say that's probably one of my biggest takeaways from 2025 was I leaned into my like talking with spirit, and I have like this mentor. She's amazing. I did like this clarity call with her one time because I'm like, are mediums real? Like I need to talk with someone, and I had a friend recommend her to me. She's changed my life. Just having someone that like is in that world. She's up in Ogden, so she's also local, which was also like just confirming and cool. And she's not like Teresa Caputo out there, you know, like I freaking love her though. But that just seems like so far away, so far-fetched that it's like you're so removed. And so she's another expander for me. But I did a few different rounds of, she started offering mediumship training classes where she started from the basics, where she went over the clairs like I did, because that's how your spiritual gifts come in. And I just love teaching. Like I love talking to my friends about this. I love opening people to these things in like a collective group sense. And so I'm hoping to share more of that. But that's where one of my clairs comes in, is hearing clairaudience. That's something I learned in my mediumship 1 class, is that it can be internal or external. And I've always just pictured like, oh, on the simplest form, like audible hearing is like physical sound, like, oh, I don't hear ghosts, you know, like they don't talk to me. I've heard of people who can hear them and hear voices. And I'm like, oh, so I don't have that. Like I don't have clairaudience. And then I found out that's my strongest clair, because I have internal clairaudience, which is fucking fascinating, let me tell you. Where basically like the way I'm communicated with one of them is song. So I will just start singing a song, or like I love singing. I sing every day to my girls around the house all the time. And songs will just come in out of nowhere. Like I hadn't heard it, or maybe I did hear it. I don't know. It's all here or there, but like it will come in and it will stick. And then something will happen on the mediumship front and it will make sense, or like there's a synchronicity, or like a parallel that pops up. So like the song that kept coming up in my head after my New Year card pulling and everything was the song from The Greatest Showman, Never Enough. Like the never enough. Wow, I can't believe I just did that. Anyways, that song. I love that song, and my girls have been obsessed with that movie lately. I sing one of the songs, the Dreams song, to them almost every night in bed. And anyways, I've been singing this in my head, and then last night happened, and then I started singing this. And then this is like one of those things that's like a sign that we don't see, or we're not activated to notice signs from spirit, from our ancestors, from whatever you believe in that's beyond. And I think it's really beautiful because when you do notice and you just lean in and you're curious and you don't shut it down, which is what I've done in the past of like, oh, I'm just singing that song because I heard it on the radio. Like that's that fleeting thought, right? Now I'm like, why am I singing that? And like I've been singing that song, and then all of a sudden I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm like, holy shit, those filters, the paradox of like, you must serve everyone else before you look inward, or you like take care of yourself, like, or you're being selfish, like all of that is coming from like, no matter what I do, I'm never enough, never, I'm never enough. And then it was just like this moment where I just like smiled, and it almost like brings tears to my eyes, because it's like these beautiful moments of like confirmation where I'll just like look out and I'll just be like, I get it, like I got that one, thanks, like, and like send thanks that I'm like realizing that like I get these little inklings of confirmation, and they're so beautiful and so cool. But like it's taken me like this year and doing those trainings and stuff to even like realize that they're planted everywhere. And I know I have so far to go, and I'm so fascinated by just like signs in general and stuff. But like, yeah, like this world that we live in, this paradigm that we live in, like we could be really struggling. We can really be going through something, and the world just keeps going. You still have to show up for work. You still have to, like, cars are still going in the street. Like the lights are still working. Like the world just goes on no matter what we're going through. And so it's like really easy to just plug back into that, or like if we're receiving signs to just like write it off or keep driving. Like driving's a really good example of this, because like think of all the stimulus you have driving. You have to use a blinker, you have to be using a pedal and a brake, you have to, like, sometimes the radio's on or the kids are yelling, you have kids throwing stuff at you, my children, you are watching out for other cars, you're watching out for pedestrians, you're watching out for bikes, you are, when you're trying to get over, you are making sure you're clear, like you're paying attention to street lights, to street signs. Like, holy shit, guys, that's not even everything. Like, you're looking out for cops. Like, there's so much. How are we supposed to pay attention to signs? Unless we practice, and unless we have real life experiences, or unless we talk to people or hear people that have had experiences, and it activates us to then be more open. So that's perfect to end on. My word for the year is open. I think it's openness or openings. Anyways, to be more open, but not just to that kind of stuff, but like with myself and what I really want. So here we go. I'm not sure how often I'm going to be posting. I'm going to try to get rid of like expectations I'm putting on for myself, or like if I don't show up, then it's not good enough. Singing that song in my head ever. And yeah, so I don't know what to expect, but I just want to start sharing again, and in hopes that, yeah, you can start connecting with yourself as well, and that will just ripple out.